Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine program known as Smokin' and Toastin'. It's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are coming to you from the studio in Houston, Texas, but heard all over the world, thus making this the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'.
Hi, Mom.
We are so glad to have you on board. It's show number 189, where we will ask, and with some degree of accuracy, answer the question: is whiskey the true holy water?
It's pretty good stuff.
It's pretty good stuff. So we'll be getting to that. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, BB Italia on Memorial in Houston, and BB Lemon on Washington Ave, as well as the Annie Cafe and Bar on Post Oak Boulevard in Houston. What a week it's been. A whole lot of things going on. We will bring you another episode of Drinking News today, which is always kind of fun. And cigar factories around the world are reopening, so we'll kind of give you an update on what's happening. You know, the virus continues to grow, but things are reopening anyway. It's kind of where the world finds itself at this point. So we'll just see where things go. Representatives from Florida have urged the president to drop the cigar regulations because of the already troubled, cigar industry because of the slowdown from, the economy and COVID. So we'll see how that goes, tell you what's going on with that. Plus, we will tell you what you can expect from the craft beer industry post COVID-19. So some new projections are coming out as many breweries are reopening now.
It's going to be very interesting to see what the new normal is.
Well, that's right. And that kind of is my biggest question now about all of this stuff, the cigar industry, craft beer, even the spirits industry, particularly with the smaller distilleries. What is the new normal? Are we going to lose some? If so, will new ones kind of crop up to take their place? Does the fact that people have been, unable to go visit their favorite brewery or tap room for a while, is that going to make that, that much more exciting for people to go back? And will there be a kind of a boom
almost,
of sorts for craft beer?
I think that's going to be also mitigated, though, by the fact that everywhere has to operate at 25 or 50% or whatever they're ramping it to.
Right, although I understand that in Texas, where we are, that now it's about to bump up again past 50%. Yeah. So I think you're going to see most responsible places, regardless of what the regulations may be. I just think you're going to see them try to keep people a little more separated for a while, if for no other reason than because it'll make people more comfortable to come back. My wife and I are going out to meet a friend for a drink and go over a small business matter tomorrow. It'll be the first time we've done this since the lockdown. Right. And we researched like crazy to find a place that we could go that we felt comfortable that they were, doing the right things in terms of, separation of the tables and what have you. I mean, we went online, we read different, bars and restaurants, what they were saying about how they were handling it. And I think that is going to be a bigger factor, quite frankly, than regulation because people, there are some people who aren't worried about it and just, don't care. They're just going to live their lives normal. But the majority of people are concerned on some level and are taking some kind of precautions. Yeah. And so they're going to want to approach places that are being more careful.
So last week, me and my wife went out, and we hadn't been out at all, to anywhere.
Right.
So we're both getting a little cabin feverish. Well, so a buddy of mine over off of Post Oak has a restaurant called Watershed, which is absolutely outstanding. Go there. It's amazing. Noted. And what they did is they just took out a bunch of their seating so that there's only spaced out seating left. So you can't walk in and sit next to anybody else.
Right.
Every table is far enough away from every other table. So anywhere you go up there and do that, and then everyone, they're super clean. They're spraying stuff down constantly. And they got great selection of beer and everything else. But we felt real comfortable there because we weren't right next to anybody, and didn't feel like there was any problems with it. The food was outstanding. It was nice to get out of the house.
Yeah, it feels good to do something that approaches what normal used to be, even if the new normal is
Yeah.
going to be different.
It's going to be weird.
If you just take a step in that direction, it feels like it's good for the soul in some sort of way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So so it is nice to get back out. Now you're going. You and your wife are taking actually a small vacation, aren't you?
Yeah, well, we had this vacation planned for quite a while. We're going to see my brother in Tucson.
Are you driving or flying?
We're flying.
Okay,
And
so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, the airplanes are apparently they're supposed to have a seat between every passenger at least minimum, which is not 6 feet.
Yeah, unless you fly United,
But-
they don't care. They don't.
They don't.
They don't.
They're like,
United
whatever.
doesn't give a damn.
Damn.
They released that guidance as a plan, and were in violation of their own plan one day later.
One day,
That's
like,
United
on the
Airlines,
next
the
flight.
world's worst airline.
Oh man. So yeah, we're flying Southwest on it. And
They're better.
Southwest has been pretty good to us
Yeah.
for most places. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. But I think also since there's two of us, we'll take up at least one side of the row because it'd be me and her, and no one else is going to be
Sure.
sitting in between us. So I think that kind of makes me feel a little
Helps.
better too.
And you can wear the mask.
I'm not sitting right next to a stranger at that point.
Right.
Wear a mask.
Now, let me ask you this question. You'll be on Skype next week.
Yes.
And we're hoping to have another guest in the studio. But one way or another, I'll be here. You'll be on Skype.
Mm-hmm.
And you're planning to try to find, maybe a tap room or
but so my
a
plan
cigar
is,
place or something?
My plan is to find like a cigar lounge or somewhere like that has open with social distancing. But I was talking with my brother, and they're not quite as far ahead with the
reopening?
With the reopening as we are. As a matter of fact, right now the scary part is they're having an upswing in the amount of cases of COVID that
A lot of states are.
they're finding. So so we're kind of going into that. So we're going to have to go in with our social distancing eyes wide open, so to speak, and then just see. So if I can't find a lounge or if it's not a comfortable situation, I've got he's got Wi-Fi and he's got a backyard. So
yeah, either way, I'm looking at you smoking a cigar on next week's show, making me a little jealous. 'Cause I'm in the studio.
Yeah.
Right?
Either way, there will be a cigar involved.
Speaking of cigars, did you smoke anything interesting this week?
let me think about that for a second. Hell yes.
I'm guessing.
So so this is not. It's a new cigar, but I'm a big fan of the Oscar Valdez Superfly.
Yes,
I just think
we
it's
both
a
smoked
great
that and
stick.
loved it. Yeah.
It's a great stick. Well, they just came out with the Superfly Connecticut. So Connecticut, Honduran and Connecticut wrapper, Honduran binder, and then I think three different nations
countries, for
of
filler tobacco.
filler on there. The appearance on this light brown, real pretty smooth with some veins, the purple and gold 70s theme label, which is just it's a Superfly.
This
It's
is
awesome.
actually a little hard for me to imagine because when I think of the Superfly, I think of that dark Maduro.
because it's really dark. Yeah, it's a really dark looking.
So it's hard
cigar.
for me to imagine a Connecticut
and
wrapper.
this is very Connecticut looking.
Yeah.
There's like I wonder what kind of wrapper that is. It's very very light brown.
So I'll be curious to
very
see if
smooth.
it wound up being much lighter.
Well, so it's a very interesting cigar. So it's definitely on the mild plus, or
Okay.
maybe the beginnings of medium overall. I'll go ahead and give that away right now.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-light sniff on this, I got freshly mown grass, hay, hint of cinnamon and mint with apple blossoms kind of thing.
So it
and some
sounds like a really
earthiness.
strong flavors for a Connecticut. You know?
It was really distinctive flavors. I wasn't expecting all that. A lot of times when I pick up a Connecticut, even if it's a really good Connecticut, I get a lot of hay and barnyard.
Some of
and-
that light tobacco note.
Yeah, and the very tobacco-y kind of thing, but not usually a whole lot. But this one had really interesting stuff going on. The pre-light draw was I used a clip, and it was a medium to medium light draw on it. Pretty nice. It felt pretty good overall. And a sweet nutmeg, mint, and a tangy tingle on the lips.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really. I was like, "What is going on with this thing? This is crazy." The mint thing was the weirdest thing, though, because it wasn't like I had anything else influencing that mint too. I think the beer that I started off with this cigar was a Dirty Bastard from Founders, and there ain't nothing minty in that.
No, no, it has some flavor. Mint is not one of them.
Which, by the way, ended up being a wrong beer for this. I actually took that beer and set it aside and opened up a different beer to have with the cigar once I started into it.
Yeah.
Because the initial light on this blast of mint and pepper.
Wow.
Absolutely interesting. Just such an interesting thing. Fermented hay, tangy spice, really toasty finish on it right off the bat. That was the initial light. And it was an interesting initial light because it's so different from the initial light on almost any other cigar I've ever had. The first third of this, nutmeg and toast, hints of citrus, mint, cinnamon with a woody finish. Had a little bit of an uneven burn. I didn't do anything about it. Had a nice solid ash on it. The second third of this, tangy lemon sweetness with white pepper, evolved with strong cedar notes. Like cedar started coming in really, really strong here.
Nice.
Minty sweet finish, perfect burn. The burn head even out, solid ash. The last third of this, I put mild plus strength or medium minus with big flavor. Mint moves forward with hints of coconut, nutmeg, cedar ramps up, hay, and a little campfire, white pepper on the finish. Solid ash.
A lot of flavors
Purple.
for a lighter
it was
cigar.
Great flavor.
Yeah.
And it was big flavor, but not powerful flavor, if that
Right.
makes sense. So the strength of the cigar wasn't huge, but the cigar had a lot of flavor. So the price to quality was about a $9 cigar, the same price point as the
regular Superfly.
the regular Superfly, the Superfly Maduro, or whatever you want to call it now to distinguish it. I gave it a solid 6.
Nice.
I thought with the flavor profile it punched above its category. And it was pretty awesome.
Nice. And what size was this? Was it the same
This was,
size
I think
as
they
the
call it a
regular?
Super Corona. It's like a 6x48.
Yeah. So it's around the same size as the regular Superfly. Interesting. That sounds intriguing to try because one of the things that since I normally smoke like medium to full, that's kind of my go-to range.
Right, same here.
When I go for a Connecticut or a lighter cigar, I'm always hoping that it isn't just so light that I don't get much out of it. But what you're describing with this is the perfect storm, really, if you want a lighter cigar, maybe to go with a
tons of
particular
flavor.
thing, but still have tons of
Well,
flavor.
I would tell you,
to it,
so just a real quick thing on it. I started off with the wrong beer because I had that Dirty Bastard. I set it aside because I can drink Dirty Bastard at any temperature. That's fine with me.
Right.
So I set it aside and I grabbed an amber ale, one of the Altworks amber ale.
Uh-huh.
And it was quite good with it. But I really, really wanted like a mojito or something, some kind of mixed drink or rum-based kind of drink
Right.
with this cigar because it would have really been a beautiful match, I think.
Speaking of rum, we're going to try one today that I'm anxious to have you sample. It is an interesting rum. You may have seen it on Mr. Twirligig when we first started the show. There we go. It is called Dictator. It's a 12-year ultra-premium reserve rum from Colombia. So I'm anxious to see what you think of that and how you think that might work.
It's a very dark and mysterious looking bottle.
With cigars, yeah. Let me tell you about what I smoked. I'm not completely sure that I haven't smoked this one and talked about it. I know I didn't smoke and talk about the Robusto. If I did, it would have been a different size.
Yeah.
But I had one of the Romeo and Julieta 1875 Reserve Real Nicaragua
Nice.
cigars, and I think that these just came out. So I think I may have smoked a Reserve Real before and talked about it, but it wasn't the Nicaragua. So this is a new line.
I think I have one of those in my humidor, but I haven't.
Got a
talked about
blue
it.
band on it? Yeah. Okay, if it's in there, you may want to seek it out. It's a gorgeous deep brown wrapper. It was very inviting just to look at, you know. The pre-light sniff was earthy in that kind of Nicaraguan way, you know, with notes of maybe some wood and spice on the sniff. The draw was just perfect, more of those same notes. I used a punch on it and lit it up with no problems. It had that kind of telltale Nicaraguan spiciness, that pepper blast right on the beginning.
right off the bat.
That so many of them do.
It's a very black pepper kind of spicy.
Yeah, it just
too.
punched its way forward as soon as it was lit. But then, as most of them do, it settled right down, and the flavor started getting more complex. It gave way to notes of cedar and this wonderful, deep sort of Nicaraguan earthiness. That I think I've never been to Nicaragua. You and I have been to Honduras, which is close, but
right next to it.
Yeah.
Well,
but,
we were in the Jalapa Valley, so we were
right.
We were pretty close.
Yeah, we're pretty close. But next time I have an opportunity to be in that area, I want to just take a handful of the soil and just smell the soil, because I want to see if that will connect to the receptors in my brain to that earthiness that I enjoy so much from Nicaraguan
It
cigars.
makes me think of like a really black, rich...
Right, a very rich,
earth,
deep, almost loamy kind of soil.
Right,
I don't know that that's the case, but that's what it makes me think of. So anyway, it was a very deep kind of earthiness, not a sort of a dirt smell, more like a just like a almost cured earth kind of a smell. I picked up on some leather and toast around the halfway point, and it continued to evolve, this cigar did, with every puff, which was really kind of awesome. There were no construction issues, burned very nice overall. A little uneven at times, but nothing that would even make you need to do a relight. Medium to full bodied. And so it wasn't until after I had smoked it that I looked up just to make sure I knew enough about it that I didn't sound like a dumbass when I talked about the cigar. And it was then that I discovered, this was a collaboration between Rafael Nadal, renowned, blender of the leaf, and some guy named AJ Fernandez. So,
of course it was.
I didn't go into it knowing that. And I was kind of glad in a way because I'm such an AJ fanboy. It would have made me decide I liked it even before, even quicker. As long as it didn't disappoint, then I'd have been all about it. But I liked it even not knowing that it was AJ related, and so. But now, of course, it makes total sense to me that Nicaraguan earthiness, the way the blends just kind of kept shifting and changing a little bit as it smoked, very much like the AJs that are on my favorite list. Which, guess what? This is now on my favorite list. It's about an $8 Robusto, so not cheap, but not overly expensive.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the 6, price to quality. So
nice. Two great scores today.
Highly, highly recommended, and it's one that you can just go pick one up of. I think I got it off the end cap at Casa de Monte Cristo, and you can just pick one up of it and enjoy it, or you can do like I'm now probably going to do and start pricing the box. Start pricing.
Well, I got to tell you, so you mentioned it's funny that the AJ Fernandez came up, but it's hard to get away from that guy right now.
Well,
he's everywhere, and he's
everywhere,
awesome,
and he's so good. Yeah.
I mean, and he's just become, and I think he's really coming into his own in the industry in the last couple of years. He's just become this everywhere. Everything he touches is gold. Well, it's kind of like the Dave Grohl of the industry right now or something.
Absolutely. It's a great analogy. If you think about it, a lot of these brands, Hoyo de Monterrey, Romeo and Julieta, that he's doing these blends for, because he's got his own line of cigars, and they're all fantastic. But he's doing these blends for brands that are very established, sell tons of cigars, but aren't known for the type of cigars that AJ does. So the market, shifts and evolves, and there's become more demand for the type of stuff that AJ does. That's medium to full and using Nicaraguan tobacco instead of Dominican. And I think it's just really smart of these companies, rather than going, okay, we made a Nicaraguan one, which some of them have done, and some of those are very good, but to reach out to somebody who's really an expert in this area and say, will you blend our Nicaraguan cigars?
Well, not only that, but kudos to the companies that are long established that are willing to do this, because the truth of the matter is the industry and the flavor of the industry does change over time.
Sure.
Like, at one point in time, Candela was the preferred.
Right, Candela was the preferred wrapper. That's right,
and that's not true anymore. So these things happen, and if you're an industry giant like Romeo y Julieta, you don't actually have to change anything.
Right, you're going to sell a ton of cigars.
You're going to sell
anyway.
Cigars, whether you innovate or you just sit back and stale.
As long as your cigars don't fall off.
Right,
the quality ledge.
Right,
you're going to be fine.
Well, and the same thing with Punch and with Hoyo, and like a lot of these are so established that, but it's really a neat idea that they're going, hey, let's do a collaboration, let's push what we do, and let's go outside of our box.
Yeah, maybe outside of our comfort zone.
I think, this happens in the beer industry now too. Is Guinness, one of the most long established beer companies in the world, didn't have to make any other kind of beer, but now they make a ton of different beers because they're crafty.
Right.
And they're being crafty, and they go, you know what, the industry is crafty. Let's be crafty. I think it's awesome, and all their beers are good.
So what is the craft beer industry going to look like post-COVID-19? We'll talk about that. Some new information has come out that might help us take a good look at that. Plus, we'll be doing some craft beer tasting. From Austin Beerworks, we'll be tasting their Peacemaker Anytime Ale. We'll be tasting Mike's Pillow from Junkyard Brewing. It's a New England-style double IPA. And we'll be tasting White Elm Brewing Company's Champurrado.
Nice.
White boy pronunciation, Champurrado.
Champurrado.
Champurrado. It's an Imperial Stout. And so we'll be tasting that one as well. All of that plus the Colombian rum from Dictator, the 12-year ultra premium. So we'll be doing all of that, and also drinking news will be on the way very soon. Thank you for joining us for Smoking and Toasting, show number 189. Halfway to 200.
Halfway to 200. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll be talking about all of those things as the show rolls on. A little craft beer on the way momentarily. Ian, let me share this new list with you from our friends at Cigar Aficionado. I call them our friends. We don't know any of them personally. But I enjoy reading their magazine.
But they seem all right. I like their publication.
I enjoy reading their magazine. They released something recently that I thought was worth mentioning. It's a list of 8 great smokes for the summer. Is it 8?
Right
I'm sorry,
now.
15 great smokes for the summer that are under $8.
Ah,
I was like, okay,
nice.
This is good because, a lot of times when you're reading their review of a cigar, you're like, oh, okay, that looks really good. Oh, yeah, of course it is. The retail price is $24, or whatever,
Right.
So it's good to for somebody like me that I like to smoke, fairly often. It's good to find cigars that are not quite as expensive as
it's
those.
nice to have a list because come on, you're a cigar aficionado. So a lot of times when they put up those lists of these are great cigars you must try, sometimes you just can't get those cigars.
Yeah, right. You can't find them, or
they're cost prohibitive,
too
or
expensive,
something like that. So this is actually kind of a cool take.
Yeah. So here's a list coming in at $7. The Flor de las Antillas Belicoso. This is put together by Jose Pepin Garcia from my father, and this is their tribute to the birth country of Cuba. And Antillas, or Antilles, the Greater Antilles, is where they're from. They're featuring a sun-grown wrapper and a trademark double binder, and it's box-pressed, and it's hardy, and it makes the list at $7.70 suggested retail. The Casa Magna Jalapa Claro Toro box press. It's a Nicaraguan cigar as well. List price is $7.20. It's a joint creation between Manuel Quesada and the Plasencia family. So you've got some good cigar genes going into this one. And they did a really nice job. And you can find this article, by the way, in Cigar Aficionado if you want to explore the tasting notes a little more specifically on any of these. The Hoya Black Double Robusto, also a Nicaraguan cigar, coming in at $7.80. It's a thick Robusto with a powerful and earthy smoke, a part of the Hoya Black line, which was created as a follow-up to the Hoya Reds.
I bought a box of those.
Oh, yeah.
They're so good.
Now, when we spoke about cigars last time, you were down to not a lot in your humidor, and they were all really expensive smokes. Have you restocked?
Yes,
Okay.
I restocked. Well, I looked across. First off, at Casa, they had a sale rack, and I thought it was a sale table, and I thought it was kind of funny because I was seeing cigars on there that you would never see on clearance. And
Right.
I talked to Steve, and I said, "What's the deal?" He goes, "It's not that any of these cigars are bad, or that a lot of them aren't that old." He goes, "The problem is some of the sizes don't move."
Oh, so maybe the Robusto sells, but the
So
the
I got
Grande doesn't, or whatever.
the Coronas.
Okay.
And apparently they just, that size doesn't move. Well, they're great.
And
by
which
the
one
way.
did you get?
The Corona, the Hoya Black.
The Hoya Black?
Yeah,
Nice,
the Corona,
nice.
and
Those
I
are
got a
great
box
cigars.
of them for very inexpensive. So I got that in my drawer, and I went by Galveston Island Cigar Lounge the other evening.
Our
I
buddy
picked up
Alan
a
Denny.
few there. Yeah, so, and he
nobody
wasn't
cares
there,
about.
but I hung out. But I hung out with Double D, who works there on the rare occasion that Alan isn't there.
Yeah.
So so I sat and had a cigar with him, and then grabbed a few on my way out. That's where I got that Superfly.
Nice.
That I talked about earlier. So I actually have put a few in the humidor now. It's really nice to have a couple. But that Hoyo Black is so good.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That is just good
Yeah.
stuff. The Mbambe or Mbambe Habano Corona. It's a Costa Rican cigar. $7.49. The only cigar on the list that was made in Costa Rica, which is actually kind of a rarity in the handmade cigar industry. It has an uncut foot, an Ecuadorian wrapper, and binder and fillers from Nicaragua
Which one
and
was it?
Peru. It's the Mbambe or Mbambe capital M, capital B,
Yeah, I got
Ambe,
that. I got that.
Habano Corona.
Oh, okay, because I did the classic Robusto last week is what I talked about.
And you liked that, as
yeah,
I
it was
recall.
good.
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah. The 7-20-4 Hustler Series Dog Walker. It's a $6.50 cigar. It's rolled with 2 alternating cover leaves, one light and one dark, giving it the barber pole effect. Stronger than it looks, they say, with Brazilian Matafina and Ecuadorian Connecticut shade wrapper, Costa Rican binder, and Nicaraguan and Honduran filler. That makes the list, and there are several more here. Arturo Fuente Hemingway's short story Maduro. $7.55.
Yeah.
Yep. E. Carrillo's Dusk Robusto.
Yes.
I like the Dusk very much. It's from the Dominican, but comes in.
E.P. Carrillo's another one of those.
$7.
It's hard to get anything bad by him.
That's right.
I mean, everything he's making is great.
The La Galera Connecticut CEPO, C-E-P-O. This one from the Dominican Republic. This cigar is $3.80. The least expensive cigar on the list. It's a 5x38. Slender Corona with a pigtail cap, originally created by Jose Blanco. So it's got a pedigree of its own. The Romeo and Julieta Reserve Robusto. This is the one with the kind of brownish band on it, and it's a fairly new release from Romeo and Julieta. It's $6.60. Nicaraguan wrapper and binder, and filler from Nicaragua and Honduras. Undercrown's Maduro Corona Pequeña at $5.50, released in February of this year. It's a 4-inch by 44 ring gauge, packs a lot of punch with a Mexican San Andreas wrapper.
Undercrown.
Undercrown is good stuff. La Flor Dominicana, the 1994 Tango at $7.50. The Nat Ciso, C-I-C-C-O, Anniversario, 1965, Liga No. 4, Robusto Grande. That's a long name. It's Nicaraguan. It's $7.25, and it is highly recommended. The San Lotano Requiem, Connecticut Churchill, one of AJ's smokes, at $7.80. The Villager La Meridiana Corona, a Nicaraguan smoke, at $6.50. And the Ilusone Fuma de Amor Lagunas. The name translates to the smoke of love.
Nice.
I like it. It was made by Aguilar Zalif, and it is Nicaraguan, and it's $7.50. So there's your list of 15 cigars that are under $8.
I love that list, and I love lists like that. You know, we've talked about our favorite lawnmower cigars, and our lawnmowers are the ones, you know, the under $5 cigars that you can smoke anytime, and you don't really have to put a lot of thought into it or worry if it goes out because you're doing mowing the lawn,
or you're mowing the lawn and you get finished before you're finished with the cigar and you don't have time to finish. It's like, okay.
Right. So but I love a list like that is good, affordable cigars, because, you know, for the occasional smoker, you have 2 kinds. You got the kind that's not going to spend a lot of money on a cigar because they don't smoke that often anyway. You got the kind who go, I'm going to spend a lot.
Right.
And that right there is for the guy, you know, who like doesn't know what to get into. You got a great price point. I don't know.
And your price may vary, by the way, especially if you're in New York.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Or California.
Big time.
Ian,
I want to put a short shout out. I got Trey Boring watching us.
What's up, Trey?
He said, "What's up, Cigar for Warriors out there for if you guys get a chance to look up Cigar for Warriors, you can donate cigars to the cause. Sends out fresh sticks to our
men and
armed
women
forces
in the armed
out
forces
in the field,
stationed
yes.
Elsewhere, where they may not be able to get cigars.
Yes,
which is
in
it's a wonderful
places.
thing. And don't you know how exciting it is for them when the box arrives?
Yeah, that's got to be amazing.
Oh, that's got to be the high point.
Couple other quick highlights. We got Howard Sandler watching. Hi,
What's
Howard.
up, Howard.
We got John Egan. Looks like he's joining in watching us. Hi, and Manny from El Cubano.
And by the way, that's John on the Smoking and Toasting theme song at the beginning of the show.
That's his voice that you hear. That's
wonderful.
Pretty amazing.
He's wonderful. Ian, I think it's time to drink. Let's open up the Peacemaker Ale.
Slow down, Turbo. Okay.
Yeah, that didn't take you long to buy in. Austin Aleworks Austin Beerworks rather, is it's a brewery I've been familiar with since back when I actually used to go to South by Southwest. That would always be one of my things, is to find a bar that had plenty of these in stock or on tap and enjoy some of their beers, because I've always thought they made really good beers, and they're all over the place in Austin. You can now find them in a lot of other places as well.
The artwork on this is really, really simplistic.
And most of their cans are very much like this. The color scheme will change,
it's
but
very
not a
simple
whole
with
lot
the
about
A
it.
and kind of a gold drop with a star underneath it. But that it's very distinctive
Yeah,
in its simplicity, and it's really easy to see when you walk into a shop that has a bunch of craft beers.
Whether
this
they've
one
got these or
stands
not. Yep,
out because
absolutely.
it's just such a
It's so simple and straightforward.
straightforward. Yeah.
This is their Peacemaker Anytime Ale. I think it's around 4.5%. It's
5.1.
Okay.
5.1%. It smells great, by the way. It smells like sweet.
It's got
dough.
it's got a little bit of yeastiness on
Yeah,
the
it smells like
on
sweet
the
bread
nose,
dough
doesn't it?
almost.
Yeah. And I don't know what to expect. It doesn't list as an amber or a.
And it tastes like a wonderful malty pretzel. It's
I was
good.
going to say it's got that baked bread vibe to
Yeah.
it, but pretzel is
man.
pretzel's even
Yeah,
more
this
accurate.
has got that. Oh yeah.
I bet this would be great with pretzels. You know?
Yes. Oh, can you imagine with
Especially
the
one of those
mustard
doughy
and
ones? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It's definitely a lighter beer in terms of its mouthfeel and its refreshingness. So it's not like a heavier, American ale or an IPA or something like that. But it's very tasty though.
It's reminiscent a little bit of a Fat Tire. When you get Fat Tire nice and fresh.
Yes.
It has some of that kind of flavor. So if you're into Fat Tire, you should definitely try this one. And I always love good fresh Fat Tire. This is one I'll be picking up from now on. Though This is delicious.
It's really good and I would say a very good summer beer too. Because in the summer you're often looking for things that are very refreshing, but you want to do that without having to sacrifice.
Yeah,
flavor.
this has got just enough hops to finish the beer nice and crisp. And not make it a sweet finish. It gives it just a touch, just a snap of bitter on it. I really like this.
Got that tiny bit of hop on the finish.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But up front, man, it's all about the malt and it's not malt like sometimes we try beers that are very malty and they've got a bit of a heavier tone to them, like some of the Bavarian ales and things like that. This one's a little bit lighter than that overall in how it hits the palate, but it's still got plenty of malt.
Well, this one is not as round up front as like Guten Tag, but Guten Tag also finishes a lot sweeter than this, and this has that crispier thing. So
this has that more hoppy finish to it. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good beer. Austin Beerworks is a good. I've never visited those guys, but
I haven't either.
That would be a great road trip, I would think. There's so many.
You don't have to twist my arm for that
one. So many great breweries in Austin, and I hope that they're doing well. We'll take a look coming up in the next segment at how the cigar industry. I'm sorry, not the cigar industry, but how the craft beer industry is poised to look as we begin slowly to come out of quarantine, and what it's done so far and what you can expect. And I've been really concerned about this because I don't want to see some of my favorite breweries reach the point where they can't continue to operate and do just as we were getting to this renaissance
everywhere
of
new
amazing beers. I hate to see that slow down. So we'll take a look in one of the next segments at what that's going to look like. Plus, drinking news is on the way, and cigar factories are reopening around the world. We'll tell you about all of that. Plus, coming up next, and I just want to show this to you as we're ending this segment because this is what we're going to be sampling. It may take me a minute to pull this out of my bag.
You're digging deep.
And I'll tell you why in a moment.
That bag's interesting. It's like you're into it up to your elbow there.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to actually...
you have to actually get out of the chair and get really into the bag. Are you pulling a rabbit out of there?
Kind of.
What's going on over there?
Why, when I bring you
Do you need magical words?
The next beer we're going to sample. Show that bad boy to the camera.
It's the oil can.
Yeah. Have you seen one of those before?
Well, they used to sell, what's the one?
The Heinekens used to
Foster's.
come in. And Foster's.
Foster's used to have the oil can, right?
Yeah,
There's a couple of them that had the oil can. That's a huge can.
This is like a bomber in a can, and we'll be getting to that next.
Says Mike's Pillow.
The Junkyard Brewing Mike's Pillow. It's a New England-style IPA. We'll be tasting that
Bruce
coming up.
Stark chimed in, says, watching in the car. Stop it, Bruce. Listen in the car.
Yes.
Drive your car.
Yes, exactly. We don't want to be responsible. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and this is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Big up to my friend Steve, who's watching again. Stephen Richardson, what's up, brother? Nice to have everybody who watches us on Facebook. There's a lot of ways you can get the show. You can see it when we do it. We
Live
do it
on Facebook.
1 o'clock Central Time Thursdays. We are live on Facebook Live. And then you can see it in our feed after that, the sort of recorded version of it. It also appears on all the major podcast networks. We haven't been bought for $140 million by Spotify like Joe Rogan,
Yet.
but you know the day is young, but you can see it on.
I mean, I'll just take one.
Yeah,
one
1 million would do it for you.
Yeah.
You're not a greedy man.
Yeah,
I like
I have
that
a
about
price.
you.
And,
I like that about you. Yeah, we are of course on the Apple Podcast Network. We're on Google Play. We're on SoundCloud. We're on TuneIn. We're on Stitcher. And then you, of course, can find the video version of the show on YouTube every
on
week.
YouTube.
So,
yeah, and if you guys get a chance, even if you don't ever watch the video, go on there and hit like. And
Yes.
subscribe,
Please,
just 'cause
we'd
we like
appreciate
it. And we're going to start chopping these into. I've got already a few of them getting just about ready. We're going to start chopping these segments up so they're a little more consumable and in a 10-minute-ish range. So look for that coming
Right, so
up.
if you just wanted to see what we thought about a particular cigar.
Right.
a
If you're like,
particular,
man, there was a show a couple weeks ago that had this on there. You'll soon be
What
able
did
to
they
just
say
search
about it?
that
Right,
and
exactly.
just watch that segment instead of having to watch the whole show.
And
we'll
in the
have that up
meantime,
and running.
the whole
real
show
quick.
will be up as well if you
Yes,
want to just kind of
absolutely.
put it on. You know, a lot of people use it, as Ian has pointed out, for, you know, like
Background,
romantic
yeah.
background.
Yeah, but man, you get a nice romantic dinner. You've got your
Put your
rack
smoking
of
and toasting
lamb,
on.
smoking and toasting in the background. You know, sets
Yes.
the mood.
Yes, it does. All right, my friends, it's time. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I've asked. No, not time for that yet. I've asked Ian. Ian keeps reaching for the oil can.
It's so big.
I've asked Ian to come up with some music for this, and he hasn't had a chance to do it yet, and that's fine. But I'm gonna spur him along by between now and the time that you actually do come up with some music for the drinking news segment for an intro. I'm going to sing my own intro to drinking news because I figure if there's anything I could do to move it along, it would be to sing. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. You really want to hear that every week?
All right, you got to
I
do that
don't-
again because I'm going to harmonize with you. Ready?
All right, ready? And
Two.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's
No, don't
time
match
for-
me. We got to harmonize. See?
Drinking news, drinking news.
See, now I got
Now
harmony.
it's time for drinking news.
Okay, yeah, we're killing it there.
Yeah, we are. Please hurry and come up
We'll
with
be in
something.
your town soon. Because we're getting kicked out of this one.
Fortunately, you'll be drinking and it won't matter. Drinking News is a segment on the show where we bring you just something that was in the news, hopefully in the last week or so, and it may or may not have anything to do with drinking, but it's fun to hear about while you were drinking. And since our drinking has begun, and Ian's now going to open the oil can and continue our drinking with the Junkyard Brewing Mike's Pillow. Go ahead. I'll pass along the drinking news.
I love that. I'm just going to have one beer.
Right, exactly. And I want to hear what this sounds like when you open it. Ooh. Did that feel bigger to you than you usually
it has a deeper voice.
I believe it does.
A little more resonance.
A Finnish baker, bakery in
you can
Finland.
fit like 15 speed holes around the top of this, by the way.
Yeah, I would love to see you shotgun that one. That would be quite a feat. A quick thinking bakery in Helsinki, Finland, has saved itself from financial ruin during the coronavirus crisis by creating and selling a cake that looks like a toilet paper roll. Now, in fairness, they're not the only one. There's bakeries doing this all over the country. But I think I've given Adam a photo that he can show you. The dismayed staff at this particular bakery found all of their orders canceled last month at the same time that panicked customers started hoarding toilet paper rolls. So that sparked the idea of a toilet roll cake made of oat, butter, passion fruit mousse, and covered with white fondant. The first 5 cakes sold within an hour. And the cake became a social media hit. They've now had hundreds and hundreds of orders, and they've even been able to hire 2 extra people to help them continue to put this
I love the
toilet paper roll cake. And I don't even know if the photos that we're showing you are of the ones from this bakery, because I went on looking for images, and apparently there's tons of bakeries doing these all over the place.
Well, just for those of you who actually don't watch this and only listen to it, Josh, it's a roll of it looks like a toilet paper roll. It says crap happens roll with it.
Yeah.
And then sitting around the toilet paper are some brown cupcakes with smiley faces that look
And
very
we know
much
what
like
they look like. Yeah.
look very much like poo.
Yeah. So so I don't know if this is your
Someone's
thing
got
or
a
not.
crappy sense of humor.
But you should be able to find one of these if you want one. But the only thing is, hopefully, you've actually got real toilet paper as well, because this won't work for that particular usage. This you will have to eat. So Mike's Pillow is a release from Junkyard Brewing in Minnesota. I'm going to look and see exactly where it's from. It is from
Minnesota.
I didn't write it down. Does this? I know it's from Minnesota. Does it say there?
Hold on, let me find it. It is 8%, by the way. It is from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, brewed and packaged by Junkyard Brewing Company at Moorhead, Minnesota.
Moorhead, Minnesota. Okay.
Moorhead, yeah.
It's
That's kind of sneaky on there.
Yeah. So this is basically the equivalent of a bomber, right, in terms of size?
Yeah. This is a pretty big can.
It's definitely it definitely has an IPA vibe to it. I'm expecting it to be citrusy based on the nose.
You haven't tried it yet.
Well, actually, I have. Let me tell you that I got 2 of these, and just before all the virus stuff happened, Adam and his wife and his brother Aaron came over, and usually when they come over, I'll open a bomber of something and we'll all try it together. And I decided to go with this one. So I have sampled this before, but it has been a while now, and so I'm remembering that I liked it.
I will tell you, if you have another one of these at the house, I will shotgun it. I ain't scared.
You have just, I don't think I do, but you've now challenged me to find another one, because that could be a show segment in and of itself. Welcome to segment 4, when Ian shotguns the oil can.
This, by the way, will be our last segment.
Yeah. So have you tasted this? What do you think?
I have. This is actually quite polarizing. I smelled it, and it smells like a malty IPA, which is really kind of weird.
Kind of a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, a little
almost,
bit. It smells like, so I didn't realize it was a double until I looked at it, so I kind of suspected that right off the bat. The flavor on this, the first sip was striking. I expected one thing from the nose, and I got a completely other thing. It has a jelly-like flavor.
That's a
to
good
the
way
finish.
to say it. Yes,
and like almost a marmalade,
like
kind
an orange marmalade,
kind of finish to it. It's
marmalade.
orangey. It's hazy orangey, but it's bigger than that, and it's very marmalade kind of. It's sweeter than I would expect it. You know, I kind of like sweet beers anyway. This one really it took me a second and a couple sips to go, okay, I really like that.
So I was expecting, I think, when I tried it, I was expecting it to be citrusy, but I was expecting more of a hop presence. And the hop presence for a double IPA, I mean, you can tell it's big, but it's not big because it's just drowning in hops.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But here's the other thing, too. Like a lot of big IPAs or double IPAs even, you could smell that hops from a mile away, and also when it finishes, it's just this hop.
Right, it leaves you with that hop.
That huge hop thing. This doesn't finish with the hops. This finishes with that candied marmalade kind of sweetness.
It's a very different.
The hop is actually on the front of the tongue, which is very backwards in my mind about what I would expect it to be.
So what you're saying is that you would, in fact, shotgun one of these?
Yes.
Okay, challenge accepted.
All
I'm
right.
going to find another one. I don't know. I believe this may have been a limited release, so I don't know how hard it'll be to find another one. But I'm going to do my best, and if I can get a hold of another one, that will be the closing segment on one of our shows.
Okay, we can make it happen. 750 mils of an 8% IPA.
Yeah,
You're driving.
so that's basically the equivalent of a wine bottle in a can, right?
Yes,
So that's a lot of IPA.
that is.
But you like it. That's I'm always thrilled when I can bring an IPA on the show and you
Well,
like
there's a
it.
couple things that I like about it too. It's not overly carbonated. Like it had a lot of head to the pour, but it's not overly
In
carbonated.
the mouthfeel, though, it's not that
Yeah,
carbonated.
it's really not. This has a like it's not barrel aged, but it has that barrel aged mouthfeel to it. Like the way that you lose some of the carbonation and it's real smooth and kind of sweet. I dig it.
So they call it Mike's Pillow, and it's got a little bit of that pillowy, almost creaminess to it, which for a double IPA, I think is
Sherbet almost,
saying
too.
something.
Yeah.
Ooh, Yes, you kind of nailed
Sherbet
that.
and marmalade.
That orange sherbet,
Yeah.
but in a very good way. All right, that is a can worth checking out if you can find one. It is from Junkyard Brewing, Moorhead, Minnesota, and it's what do you know? It's real good. Mike's Pillow.
Here's an idea, by the way.
Yeah.
If you guys want to, if you guys out there listening or watching this want to put down in the comments like a beer that you've seen but haven't tried and want us to figure it out,
Oh yeah,
put it down there.
yeah. We'll do our best to get a hold of some.
Absolutely.
All right. Speaking of beer, we'll be trying a White Elm Brewing Company Champurrado Imperial Stout before the show is over, and when we come back, we'll be going the spirits direction to do the Dictator 12-year ultra premium reserve Colombian rum. Plus, as promised, what the craft beer industry is going to look like post-COVID. A little look ahead, and we also will tell you about the Florida representatives who are urging the president to drop the impending cigar regulations based on the COVID situation. We'll see how much luck they have with that, and we'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. And we appreciate you being here for show number 189. That sounds like they should have a...
Right, nice.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are bringing you show number 189. All music used by permission, by the way. Yes, sir. It's show number 189. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, BB Italia on Memorial in Houston, and BB Lemon on Washington Ave, as well as the Annie Cafe and Bar on Post Oak Boulevard in Houston. If you are not from Houston, but you visit our fair city, because we have lots of people, we have lots of people in Houston that are, followers of the show, but we have way more people outside of Houston.
Yes.
So if you're visiting our fair city for any reason, try to check one of those restaurants out. Especially, I just have to say, the bacon at B&B. It's something you will write home about. I'm telling you. You may not have sat down and written a letter to home in a long time, but you will write home about the bacon. It's that good.
I will be going by there in the next little bit to pick up that Chef Tommy kit. I really, really got to try that at home. I've only had the bacon there. I've never tried to take it home.
So you got to tell me how good of a job you can do at home with the kit of actually recreating the experience that is Chef Tommy's bacon.
That's
that's so good. It really is. And also, you should probably let me know what time it will be ready.
What time?
So that I can just happen to be in.
Hey,
Ian, I'm in the neighborhood. Mind if I swing by?
I'm in your driveway.
And by in the neighborhood, I mean I'm on your porch. About to knock there. That's the way it is going to work. So often when you find senators or representatives that are appealing to the government in support of the tobacco industry, the cigar industry, they will often be from Florida, because Florida is a state where there's a lot. Tobacco business does drive a lot of the economy there. There's all the stuff that's going. There's
the whole
companies that are home there. There's Ybor City,
Cigar City,
sure, absolutely. Rocky Patel is located there. There's a number of things. So it's a big part of the revenue of the state of Florida. And in response to the economic downturn caused by the coronavirus pandemic, a dozen representatives from Florida have signed and sent a letter to President Donald Trump urging the administration to eliminate what they call, and I'm quoting here, onerous job-killing regulations that threaten the livelihood of small retail cigar shops and cigar manufacturers. The letter, which was signed by nearly all of Florida Republicans who are members of the House of Representatives, argues that the burdensome regulations should be examined through the lens of the administration's Executive Order 13924. It was announced on May 19th, and it addressed a wide range of concerns while calling for agencies to re-examine their regulations in hopes of boosting the economy that's been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. So they're saying, here's some regulations that really should be examined, because they're going to have a chilling effect on an industry which is already, having its own chilling effect, based on the virus. And look, we know virtually, unless you're Amazon or Netflix, you've had a chilling, impact from this thing on your business.
The only businesses booming right now are the Amazon, Netflix, and bicycle shops.
Right, bicycle shops.
Good for bicycle shops.
Down down by my building downtown, they've totally installed a new bike lane.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of anticipation that there's going to be a lot more bike riding in cities as people go, yeah, I don't know if I really want to get on the bus. You know
so
what I mean?
I think we were talking about what's the new norm coming up here, okay?
Right.
I think a couple things are going to happen from this. A lot of people are probably finding out that they can work from home.
Right.
And be effective and
do so. I have read that as much
know.
as a fourth of the workforce is not expected to go back into the office.
The other thing is there's a huge boom in bicycling right now. It's absolute huge bicycle renaissance going on right now because
This
so
is a
many
good thing.
people
By the
had
way, Europe's way ahead of us on this.
yes,
You know?
and so many people had not much to do, and I can only assume that and I ride my bike avidly. Like I ride all the time, my road bike, my mountain bike. But I can only assume that a bunch of people were like, I'm going to get outside and do something. A bicycle sounds fun because a bicycle is fun.
Yes, it is.
Walking's nice.
And it's nice to be
fun.
out in the outdoor air and the sun.
And if you already know how to ride a bike, there's no joint impact or anything like that. It's really, it's aerobic, but there's no impact.
It's good for you.
And it's good for you. And so a bunch of people got out on their bikes and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be such an asshole when I'm driving.
Right.
I'm sure there's a bunch of that. But anyway, or the guy in the car going, well, I don't ride my bike like that. Look at that. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But it's such a huge thing. And so I'm thinking that maybe traffic might come down a little bit because people might be riding bikes a little bit more.
Yeah,
That's a great thing.
I do think traffic is not going to be as bad as it was. When you combine the people who will be working from home with people who've shifted to bikes or other forms of transportation.
Man, I'll tell you, here in Houston, in the last it seems like the last 4 to 5 years, traffic just keeps ramping up and up and up. And it's gotten to the point where it's hard to drive anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, when there is no traffic in Houston, everything is an hour away.
Right.
40 minutes away. And now you got traffic. That's the amount of traffic's crazy.
I get it. I get it. And it's been like that. In Europe, they've been using bicycles as a primary mode of transportation for years and years and years. And it helps keep the traffic reduce somewhat in a lot of European cities as well. So, so here's hoping. Bike's a good thing. But if you're going to bike to your favorite brewery, make sure that you have the ability to walk your bike home if necessary.
Well, keep in mind that your bicycle is legally a vehicle.
That's right.
Even though most other vehicles don't think of you that way, you are beholden to all the same laws as when you're driving.
And there are some Ubers and cabs that'll be able to put your bike in the back and get you home. So just get a big enough one. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Very excited about tasting our rum today, Ian. This is a Dictator. It is a 12-year aged, and for rum, that's a fairly long time. I mean,
that's a long time on rum.
When you drink a rum that is 8 years old, aged for 8 years, you're getting a pretty old rum. Anytime you're north of 8, you're starting to get into the ultra premium.
It says
category.
ultra premium reserve right here.
Of course, so if it says that, we might as well believe them. But I'm real interested to see what you think of this because this is a Colombian rum, and I'm not sure if we've done a Colombian rum on the show before. Rums come from a lot of different Central American locations, every place from Panama to Jamaica to. Ooh, nice. Everywhere from Panama to Jamaica to St. Lucia, a lot of different places. So this one is from Colombia. You took a little sniff of the nose right off of the bottle. What'd you think?
right off the top of my nose there, it had a very maple, maple and brown sugar and tobacco.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like right off the nose,
Like a tobacco, almost like a cigar tobacco.
yeah.
Yes, you can definitely get
tobacco
that on
and
the
tea
nose.
leaf, like right off the nose.
Tobacco
on
and tea leaf, and you're right. There is some maple on the nose.
Oh,
as
definitely
well.
maple, like it,
Almost like a maple syrup. Almost
Yes.
like you're sniffing a maple syrup.
Yes, very much.
Except the tobacco notes and the
with some brown
tea
sugar
notes are down
behind
there
it,
as well.
with tobacco and tea notes.
I really love the nose on
A
this
little
thing.
minerality going on in there, just on the nose.
Really do love the nose on this thing.
I mean, this could this has almost like a gingerbread cake kind of smell to it.
So
as well.
I'm waiting and expecting you to say one word after you taste it. Let's see if it's the one word that I would say.
I want to put this over pancakes.
Well, that was more than one word, but I was waiting for you to say butterscotch.
Yeah, butterscotch.
Butterscotch.
This tastes like maple syrup with butterscotch and rum. It is
Rum good.
It's this is syrupy wonderful. Like
Yes.
I don't mean syrupy in the way that it's like
Not syrupy in consistency. Yeah.
but it tastes like maple syrup with butterscotch. With I really like this would go amazing with pancakes,
One of the things that I have discovered, and this is a rum
waffles.
This is a rum I'm actually familiar with, so this is not my first time to taste it. But and you figured that out, by the way, when you lifted the bottle.
There's that in the very end of the taste. There's that oak char and astringency right there. That's really nice.
The aging in the wood, it definitely brings that to you. What I have found about this rum is that it's got a real sort of a butterscotch quality to it when you first begin to drink it. And that's not off. Butterscotch is not one of my favorite flavors, but it's not off-putting to me. Like it's because it's not too sweet the way it comes across in this flavor mix. But I've discovered that as you have more and more sips of this, the butterscotch kind of dies down, and it just becomes this maple syrup wonderful concoction.
Yeah.
It's a really good rum to sip throughout an evening, let's just say. Really good.
Well, with the maple syrup connotation, it's a great morning rum.
Is there a bad time of the day, really, for rum? I'm not sure that there is.
Right.
I'm not sure
No,
that
you
there
know,
is.
this is one of those, we all have those times where we go, what's for dinner tonight? Breakfast. Breakfast for dinner is a thing.
Yes. In fact, interesting that you say that because my wife did that last night. She made eggs and bacon for dinner, and it was delicious.
Yeah, man, sometimes it's the right, and
Yeah.
you always feel like you're getting away with something.
And I should have had some. Yes, right. You're 100% right.
It's not quite
you always
right.
feel like, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but darn it, it's fun.
This is the next time. This is
The next time you do breakfast for dinner,
this
you
is going
totally
with it.
should go this way. Yeah. This is the 12-year. There is, I believe, one age group higher than this in the Dictator line, and I'm not looking at my. I don't have it in my notes. I believe it's an 18. And I have not tasted that, so that would be very interesting.
What does about all this 12 go for?
It's in the $30 range.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's in the 30 to 40 range.
Yeah, we are directly affecting sales because I'm going to get this. My wife's going to freak out on this.
It's I would guess that your wife would like this very much.
Yeah.
And as we pointed out before, smoking and toasting directly influences sales.
Yeah,
if only because many times on our way home from the show, Ian and I pick up more of the thing that we sampled
Getting a six
on the
pack
show
of that,
today.
yes.
Exactly. I like this rum a lot. Interestingly enough, my wife, who is a big rum fan, was not a big fan of this rum, and it's simply because she doesn't like butterscotch. So the butterscotch taste was a little off-putting to her.
I mean, it has like a classic, those little hard butterscotch candies that have the twist
that
on
have
each
the
end.
little
It has
paper.
that classic with the little yellow cellophane. Yeah, it has that classic butterscotch finish. My brother, my older brother, would really, really like this. He likes rum in the first place, and he loves butterscotch. I think that this maybe a present for him.
I think it's delicious.
Yeah,
I think
pretty
it's
darn good.
absolutely delicious. All right, we are going to take a break. We'll come back in our final segment. We'll be tasting the White Elm Brewing Company's Champurrado, the Imperial Stout from those boys, and also we'll be bringing you that information about craft beer coming out from under the coronavirus and the economic impact of what that has brought. What does it mean now? What's our future? We'll take a look at a very interesting article that reveals some of that to us. Coming up next, you are listening to Smokin' and Toastin'. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Oh, I need to get you a can from Mr. Burlingame. Welcome back. I don't know why I did that. It just seemed appropriate.
That rum really makes me want some waffles.
It might have been the rum that made me do that. It might have been. Blame it on the rum. Wasn't that a Milli Vanilli song? Blame it on the rum. Welcome back. It is It's funny. I said the words Milli Vanilli, and as I said them, I looked over at Adam, our producer, who's a millennial, and I might as well have said Mamada Mamada. Like that name meant nothing to him. Oh, sometimes I date myself.
Hey, that was scandalous back in the day.
Oh,
though.
It was.
One of those. I can't remember which one of them. One of them actually committed suicide.
Yes,
years later.
I don't know. I don't remember if it was Rob or Fab.
Yeah.
But one of the two did. Well, I will tell you, I was onto them before the big reveal. I knew that it wasn't them singing on the record. And I'll tell you why. I went to work for a radio station. My background was in radio. Some years I worked at rock stations, alternative stations. Some years I worked at top 40 stations. And I went to work for a radio station, a pop radio station, during the time that Milli Vanilli was first starting to hit. And before I went there to work there, they'd done a station visit with Milli Vanilli. So the guys had come in and met everybody. And while they were there, this all happened before I worked there. But while they were there, they'd cut one of those things that you'll hear artists say every now and then.
Right. Hey,
Hi, this is so-and-so from such and such band, and you're listening to Z100, whatever. So they'd cut one of those. And I remember I was playing a Milli Vanilli song one day, and so I got the cartridge that had that and played it at the beginning of the song. And it said, it was kind of like, hello, this is Rob, and this is Fab. We are Milli Vanilli. I'm like, there's no way those guys are going, I'm in love with you, girl, because you're on my mind. There's no way. You can't make the jump. I don't care what you studied phonetically. You cannot make the jump from A to B. There's no way. So I knew immediately.
I love watching you rap. That was amazing.
Well,
like you went right into it like it was nothing.
Well, and consider
Thank you for that.
Consider my incredible lack of hipness when the rap I do is a Milli Vanilli rap.
And you remember the words.
Thank God this wasn't the opening segment of the show, or we wouldn't have these people with us now who are watching us
for my
on
next trick,
on Facebook.
Watch the audience disappear.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk about something real here. Exactly. There's a company called Hilco Global. They're a financial services company. And they have released a timely report on the present state of the craft beer industry, the outlook for brewers emerging from the current medical and economic crisis, and how those dynamics might create certain opportunities for new entrants to the market. And it's really interesting that we're looking at possible opportunities because one of the things, my wife sent me an article this last week. Anytime she sees something about the spiritual beer cigar industry, she forwards the article. Sent me an article this week about a new brewery that's about to open in the greater Houston area. And I thought, I remember my thought was, well, their timing is perfect. If they'd opened 4 months ago, their timing would have been terrible.
But now
their timing might be right now to open up. So I don't know anything about them, but we'll see. Anyway, indicators, they say, suggest modest growth for craft brewers that evolve, connect, and prepare now for post-pandemic restart. That's actually the name of the paper they wrote, because these companies aren't known
for PPR?
Their catchy titles. Yeah, the PPR. So here's what they say. If there's a big wave of closures, but overall the craft beer market returns to normal, that's an opportunity for someone. So let's say there's some smaller brewers that don't make it, right?
Yeah.
But a handful of others are able to stick it out. Well, if the demand for craft beer, if the marketplace returns to where it was, the guys that are able to make it are going to see
a big rise,
an increased demand for their product because they're still out there making quality craft beer products. And so, too, would anyone new who's coming to the market find maybe a less, it's a weird way to look at it, but maybe a little less crowded marketplace where they could differentiate themselves a little better.
The thing is, if you've got X amount of breweries closing, there's going to create a hole.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually will create space for newer people to come in and do that, or maybe. And it's a sad thing because I don't want those breweries to close necessarily. But if you can't make it, you are creating space for the next person to make it.
That's right.
And that's just the evolution of the craft,
Now, they also say that millennials, who comprise a sizable portion of the craft beer consuming public at this stage, will be in their 30s and 40s a decade from now. And as part of an overall U.S. population, are likely to drive increased preference for premium beer in the time between now and then. While some may choose to trade down during the early period following COVID-19 because maybe they're dealing with the financial impact, so they're trading down and not buying maybe less expensive beer, they believe that premiumization will remain the driver of growth in craft beer. And they say a health-centric focus of many consumers in this age range and other age ranges is making its way into craft beer as well, demonstrating a noteworthy and growing interest in sourcing and different types of ingredients in the beer they consume. I mean, I remember when I first kind of discovered and started drinking craft beer, nobody talked about what hops they were using.
No.
Nobody talked about it. Wasn't printed on the can that, part of what the process is. People weren't as conscious of what the ingredients were as I think they are in many places now.
There's a learning curve. I don't know if you remember when Boston Lager, Sam Adams Boston Lager came out. Okay,
I remember how much I loved it.
One of the very early craft beers that even made it. I don't know how they actually made it that big at that time. That's an amazing thing.
It is an amazing story. Yes.
But people, like, he was educating people on the commercials. Remember Greg Cook?
Right. And he would go on radio shows because I had him on my radio show back in Boston back in the day. He would come on the radio show. He was a great guest. He would pour a beer and then take a bottle cap and float it on top of the head of the beer. All these different things. He learned to be this great spokesperson.
Right.
And teach people about higher quality beer.
Even on their commercials, I remember, we heard the word hops and stuff like that, but on the commercials, he had some hops.
In his
this
hand,
is what hops is now.
Yeah,
smell,
right.
He had that whole thing, and he was educating people on that, which I think is a brilliant way to do it. And he really, that whole company kickstarted a lot of that knowledge, I think. And then the IPA thing. Once IPAs hit the market and people are like, what is this? Because they're so polarizing and different than any beer on the market at that time. When IPAs hit the market, people started being that much aware of hops because it's such a
hoppy beer. Sure.
Beer. Yeah. So I think that was a large part of it. But it's I hate to see anybody going down on this, but I really, really want to see, the
what happens
market
in the aftermath.
Bounce back. The ones that made it through, I hope, are going to be stronger and better. The ones that didn't make it through, I'm sorry, and leaves room for some people who have a dream right now.
Yeah. They do say to expect a reset in sales channels for brewers. They say, given that a significant number of bars and restaurants nationwide will likely either never reopen or maybe will reopen but not survive once they do because of the difference in how business will have to be done. They said they also expect to see a notable decline in craft draft sales and a possible associated uptick in sales on the package side. And I think we've probably already seen that with craft beer producers that are able to get some of their product into the stores. Insights into consumer preferences for retail-style pack configurations that have been gained by brewers through their curbside pickup and deliveries conducted during the lockdown, they say could prove valuable towards building the type of added resilience into their post-pandemic business models. So the sales channels, they say, will likely shift. We will get together one day and pine, Ian, for the good old days when you could go into the corner bar and they had all these beers on tap and everybody was crowded around the bar, trying them and drinking them. It's going to be different. Innovation, they say, will always be super important. Those who utilize stalled capacity as an opportunity to generate some replacement revenue while helping their communities may find ways to build on those endeavors, just as those who beefed up their branded merchandise efforts may now find that channel can bring in an added layer of revenue moving forward as well. One of the things I did during lockdown was I went online and bought a T-shirt from Stone Brewing. I love their beers. It's now like my favorite T-shirt. Yeah. And it's a great thing to do. Buy some of the merch from these guys. Yeah. If you're trying to keep them afloat, buy some of the merch. It's a big thing.
So a really tough thing right now. Musicians are.
Oh, totally. And you can do the same for your favorite musician.
If you have a favorite musician, I will tell you this: they're not making a lot of money on their recordings.
Right.
Buy the merch.
Buy the merch.
Yep. And if you do buy the recording, buy the physical recording because they're going to make money on that physical package versus the digital download. They're not going to make as much.
Exactly.
But if they have shirts, if they have keychains,
right,
whatever.
If you say, well, I don't really listen to CDs anymore, fine, buy a T-shirt.
Yeah, buy a T-shirt.
Yeah, buy something. Buy a cap. Buy a
those guys
face
are
mask with
hurting
their logo
bad
on
right
it. Yeah.
now.
Well, and so many musicians, the bulk of their income was performing live. And that's gone completely away for 3 months.
Yep.
And
That's hard.
Yeah, it's tough. There may be, they say, even fewer brewery brands overall in coming years because of buyouts and strategic partnerships of the ones that are left. So think about it. Say you're Anheuser-Busch, right? You've got money
You're
to burn.
Anheuser-Busch.
Oh, thanks. Don't insult me. Oh wait, I asked you to. Never mind. So you've got money to burn, right? You were interested in acquiring some craft breweries a while back, and you did. Now there's probably some you could get for pennies on the dollar because they would either sell to you or go out of business. You think that the big beer is not going to be looking at these opportunities? Of course they are. A way to expand their footprint even further in this area. And again, this, in and of itself, that doesn't mean the beer's going to suck. You just have to hope that, originality remains.
Look, and to just put it out there, I don't hate or think that the macro craft that is all the craft breweries that AB InBev and the others have bought. I don't think that they're all making bad beer.
Right.
When I go into a shop, I try to make that choice to go, you know what? I don't want to put my
the
money
independent guy.
in their pocket. So when you look at these labels on these beers, a lot of these you're going to see, here's a St. Arnold can right here. You're going to see the little
upside down bottle. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Bottle. I'm not finding it all of a sudden.
It does exist on many of these, but
it's not on any of the ones we have today.
Of course.
But a lot of times you'll see
that's the Independent Brewers
Brewers Association,
seal. Yeah.
Right? And then you'll see the little upside down bottle on there. And I really try to go with and it sucks because some beers that I really liked have been bought out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was a big fan of a lot of the New Belgium stuff.
Yeah.
I don't.
And it's still good.
I'm sure. But again, I just don't want to put my money there.
You'd rather support the independent guys.
Fortunately, there's so many choices out there right now.
Right.
And it makes it pretty easy to go, okay, I'm not going to drink a Fat Tire because I don't want to put money in their pocket, in the AB InBev pocket. But I can find this amazing Austin Beerworks Peacemaker Anytime Ale that's unbelievable.
Love every drop
and
of
it's not going to Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, exactly. They also say that on-premise is going to rise again, but how is an open question. The pre-COVID momentum of unique on-premise experiences was built first and foremost around, engaging activities, axe throwing, ping pong, the things that the breweries would do, cornhole games, the things that the breweries would.
Have you been axe throwing? That's a lot of fun, by the way.
I have not. I know people who have and love it.
So right next to the King's Beer Garden, is an axe throwing place. Yes, and they serve beer there, by the way.
Oh yeah, because that seems like a good idea.
Simultaneously, the best and the worst idea ever.
Yes. In the short term, they say businesses that have invested in these types of facilities may pay an expensive price, but balancing the cost of labor needed to deliver these on-premise experience with diminished guest levels and under the limitations of whatever social distancing guidelines are remaining in place may prove to be a slippery slope for operators. But what these guys are saying is they do expect this to come back. They just can't tell us exactly what it's going to look like, when it does. So,
well, I think this is a time where people are going to start getting creative with it too.
Right.
So my buddy Paul over at the New Potato,
mm-hmm.
he's got such a tiny bar.
Right.
I mean, and that's
hard
really
to social distance and have very many people in a bar that size.
Yes, but he has a huge outdoor.
Right.
So what do? Well, you just give your staff service instead of everybody come into the bar for beer. Your staff starts
your staff service. Yeah.
Plus, he has an outdoor bar, and he has this great big yard, so everyone can be easily distanced. And that's kind of a cool thing. You just got to be a little creative with what you got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing that I would say, and there's a few more things they say in this article, but it's all kind of common sense stuff. Breweries have to learn to adapt to operating with 50% of their normal capacity. Like, how can they make that work? The ones who do will be the ones that survive. Looking at how to modify previous purchasing levels, renegotiating contracts accordingly, talking to distributors and customers about getting draft kegs that were in place before all this went down.
Yeah.
All these things. But in the end, what it can really be about for you as a consumer is if there's a brand that you want to fight for them. Buy those T-shirts. Go pick up some curbside from those guys. If they're available in stores, buy it when you're there. Don't buy the Fat Tire. Buy the Austin Beerworks instead. The things like that you can do
for your locals.
To support your locals are hugely important, because we had already talked about this for more than a year, how craft beer was becoming more and more of a local phenomenon.
Yeah.
And now that's the part of it that's in the largest amount of jeopardy. So this is not a local brewery to us, Ian, but our final beer for the show today is a White Elm Brewing Company Champurrado Imperial Stout. And after you open this, I'm going to ask, I usually write down on my notes here, I usually write down where the brewery is located. And for some reason, I didn't do that on a couple this week. So take a look on that can and tell me where the boys from White Elm
packaged by White Elm Brewing Company, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska. I I don't think we've done a Nebraska beer in a long time. Yeah, if ever. So
wow, look
I
at
can
that.
see you pouring out some motor oil there, my friend.
Look at that.
Wow, I'll just show this to the camera. It's either motor oil or chocolate milk or coffee.
Oh, that's
Not sure which.
coffee.
Yeah.
Like straight black coffee right there. Look at that.
And does it give you that smell?
It's wow, chocolate.
Wow, I get more chocolate than coffee on the nose.
Yeah, chocolate with maybe a little. There's a milkiness to the
Almost
smell.
a milk chocolate taste.
Yeah,
isn't
there's
it?
a
Or
milkiness
smell.
to
Yeah.
the smell as well. It's big, like you can smell.
Wow. This is not at all what I was expecting.
There's a bitterness to the chocolate too, so it's like a dark chocolate kind of.
It almost tastes to me like if you did a dark chocolate pecan shake. That's what this would taste like. Except
Praline.
Praline, there you go.
Praline.
Yeah. That's except it's got, of course, the booziness to it that
Oh,
shake
this is
wouldn't have.
boozy too. Yeah, there's no doubt about that when you're drinking this. But I kind of like that. Like I like the booziness of this.
Well, it
Imperial
particularly
Stout
works. So this is a big one. How big is
Imperial
this?
Stout aged in bourbon barrels with vanilla, guajiro chilies, cinnamon, raw cocoa nibs. That cinnamon is what's giving it that little spice, I think. Of the
And
chilies,
the cacao nibs are what's giving it that sort of
and
gritty
raw
dark
cacao
chocolate.
nibs. Yeah, the super, super dark chocolate, bitter wonderfulness. It doesn't say what the ABV is on this at
Wow.
all, but it's
I'm
big,
surprised.
whatever it is. I mean, I'm going to guess. If we look it up, I'd probably guess it at probably in the 10% range minimum.
I don't know if Wiki Brian is with us today, but if he is, maybe you can look that up.
I haven't seen him on there.
Champurrado, Champurrado, with exclamation points on either side in that Spanish way. White Elm Brewing Company from Lincoln, Nebraska.
It's interesting because I wouldn't have nailed the chilies at first in that.
No,
But they're there.
they're there.
And I
yes.
don't usually like beers that have
chili flavor.
spice, like
I agree.
like hot heat spice things.
It's not something I usually
Chili
go for
beers,
either.
jalapeno
but
beers,
this
those kind
I
of
like.
things.
Even and I love
But
the
this
brewery.
is good.
I love the brewery, but even the Mu Caliente from our friends
From
in Eureka Heights,
yeah.
even that it's a little bit too much chili pepper
So
for
me, but they
I'll
also
drink it, but I'm not crazy about it.
They
you
also
know?
did a barrel aged version of that, which mellows that out, which was really
Mm-hmm.
good. So that makes maybe two that I really like. But
the barrel aging may have mellowed the chilies in this as
Yeah.
well, because you do get a little bit of them on the finish, but they're not enough to make me go. Yeah.
But what's interesting about this is, like, with the first sip, you don't notice it as much. But then you get the heat of the booziness that's in there, and that heat actually
and that
comes
kind of
in,
brings the
and
pepper
then
in.
that
Yeah.
pepper is there, so it almost intermingles with that, and it's like it's very much like a whiskey hug
The
that
first
you get on the end of
the
this.
first taste of this is all dark chocolate.
Big time.
I mean, just
Big time.
rolls over the palate.
Yeah.
And then all that more subtle stuff you're talking about comes back in the finish and the retrohale.
Yeah, I mean this. Like, have you ever had an espresso with shaved dark chocolate
Yes.
on top of it?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's that shaved
A lot of
dark
times I'll have
chocolate
a little
right
bit
on
of
top.
just a touch of whipped cream, and then on top of that whipped cream,
That shaved dark
You
chocolate.
have
Yeah,
shaved
this
dark
is
chocolate.
very reminiscent of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very much so. Well, I think it's delicious. This is not something because of the pepper thing, it's not something I would drink a lot of, but boy, am I enjoying this.
Agreed. And it's funny because the pepper is more noticeable the more we talk about it and the more we drink it. Again, with the very first sip, I didn't taste it.
I didn't taste it at all.
But now with the retrohale, especially, you get those peppers,
Right.
and it's very, very. It's kind of good though.
I want to tell you, I'm
Like this would be amazing with ice cream, like with dessert, like a very vanilla bean kind of ice cream.
Yes, I agree totally. And it does have some notes of vanilla in it.
Yes.
They're not super noticeable, but they are there, and I think they help offset the pepper.
I get the vanilla bean mostly on the retrohale with the pepper, so it's like they're kind of there on the end. Yeah.
Well, this is a great beer. It's interesting to me that it comes in a 12-ounce can rather than a taller one or a bomber, because to me this seems like the type of thing to be perfect to try when somebody comes over and you want to open it and sample it around.
12 ounces split of this, because that's got to be at least 10% or higher. The 12 ounces of this is pretty amazing. Like, can you imagine this though? Like, not to class it up too much, but with an ice cream sandwich.
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic. That'd be fantastic.
Or one of those big Oreo ice cream things.
Yeah, with that chocolate wafer outside and then the white the vanilla ice cream inside. Oh yeah, so good. So good. Well, I will tell you, my friend, I like it. I think it's quite good. Just
I'm for it.
Real quickly before we wrap up, I wanted to pass along some information about cigar factories around the world. Cigar Aficionado did a nice article about how many of them that were forced to shut down during the height of the pandemic have been able to reopen their doors. The factories, they say, aren't the same as they were before. They've instituted changes to keep their workers safe. And in the Dominican Republic, Arturo Fuente, which was closed for 2 months, resumed production on May the 11th. Everybody wearing masks, everybody far from each other. Tabacalera de Garcia, one of the world's largest cigar factories, shut down until April 6th. They started on a small scale when they reopened and now have ramped up a little bit. EPC cigar company has reopened. General Cigar has reopened. Casada Cigars is operational, working at half the strength of before. And even in Cuba at Habanos S.A., the Cuban government has prioritized tobacco and cigar production as essential activities because they're so much a part of the
economy,
the economy. CLE, Alec Bradley, Flor de Copan, all reopened in Honduras, and in Nicaragua, Plasencia, Oliva, Aganor Salif, and AJ Fernandez is open. They closed AJ's shop for 2 weeks, but it's back online today, and they say it's at capacity and adhering to all safety measures. In the United States, J.C. Newman is they closed due to the coronavirus, but they continue to roll cigars at this point. And El Titan de Bronze, full steam ahead, they say, of the cigar factory and store in Miami. So that's the update on, things are slowly crawling back to normal. Yeah. I think we are going to see, though, production levels be lower for a while. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts the cigar market. Because I don't know about you, but I think I've smoked more cigars during the pandemic than I did before. So if everybody does that, will demand increase, and will these guys be able to keep up with it?
If I'm working at home and I'm hanging out, guess what I get to do during lunch? Like I eat my lunch and then I have a cigar. Oh, it's super nice. By the way, cigars go great with iced tea and they go great with coffee.
And Diet Dr. Pepper, my friend.
I'm not a fan of the Diet Dr. Pepper, but I get what you're saying.
Now, I will say, just to return to this White Elm a little bit, the more of this I drink, the more prominent the pepper becomes. And I don't know if that's because it's getting warmer or because I've had more.
Probably a little of A and a little of B, but what I'm saying is a 12-ounce can of this is probably a great split for two people.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm kind of glad we don't have a bomber of this.
It just pours out black.
Yeah,
like that is so
I know. The color is most definitely motor oil.
Like even the head on it is just dark brown.
Yeah, I know. It's almost black itself. Yeah, it really is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for today's show. We have had a blast being here and bringing you Smoking and Toasting, episode number 189. We've joked for a long time about being halfway to 200. Next week will be show number 190, which is only 10 away from 200. And I just don't know in this, post-virus world how we're going to pull off what we had wanted to do for show 200, which is getting everybody together. So
I spoke with Mark Nichols the other night, by the way, the quality draft guy.
Yes.
And I talked to him. I'm going to give him a call because he goes, man, I've been helping a lot of people with their draft lines. I got some great breweries on board with my thing. He goes, you guys need any references? I was like, hell yes.
You're the dude.
So I'm going to talk to him about that, and we're going to see who we can get on here pretty quick. And
Okay.
And I told Mark he needs to come on pretty soon, too.
Well, next week, Ian's going to be in Tucson, so he'll be checking in from either a cigar lounge somewhere, or perhaps from a brewery somewhere,
Or an abandoned playground.
maybe an abandoned playground somewhere. Yes. Either way, he'll be checking in via Skype.
Sitting on the front edge of a slide with the swing in the background.
And I don't want to give too much away about next week's show, but with you on Skype and checking in remotely, I've invited a renowned whiskey expert to join us on the show. Now, I have not heard whether he'll be able to make it or not. I don't know what his schedule is like. And, when you're a whiskey expert, the schedule fills up very quickly.
Yeah, your schedule fills
You
itself.
may not always be available, but a renowned whiskey expert on the show next week.
9 a.m., be a whiskey expert.
Yeah,
9:30, more whiskey experting.
exactly. And
9:45,
more whiskey expert.
prepare for your meeting to be a whiskey expert at 10 o'clock.
Yes, exactly. And at 1 p.m., be on Smoking and Toasting with all of your whiskey expertise. Yes, that's right. So we're looking forward to the possibility of our guest next week. But either way, Ian will be checking in remotely and maybe letting us know about some beers or other goodies from the Tucson area. So it should be a fun show. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful week. Thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel. Thanks to Mary behind the scenes. And thank you for checking out Smoking and Toasting. We appreciate it. We will talk to you next week. And cheers.
Cheers, sir.
I was actually worried about today's show because I had hoped to get